Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to the BISP Solutions. My name is Anjali and today we will gonna start learning the business rules in the planning application. So we will start with the calculation manager basics today. So let's get started. So here we will learn about why we are creating the business rules, what different kinds of functions we can use over here, and how we can validate, deploy and launch the business rules. So what is a calculation or calc manager? Use calculation manager to create, validate, deploy and launch calculations that solve business problems. You can create the following types of objects in your calculations: rules, objects containing components, templates and other rules. So if we talk about the calculation manager, so we can use Oracle EPM calculation manager to create, validate, deploy and launch calculations that solve business problems. We can create the following types of objects in our calculations, that is rules, rule sets, components and templates. If we talk about the rules, so rules are nothing but the objects containing components, templates and other rules. If you see in the application, so under the navigation flow we find rules. There we can see the rules, rule sets, various kind of rules, rule sets, components and templates. So as maybe you have seen in the PBCS application, that is the planning budgeting cloud services, as well as in the EPBCS application. So in the custom financial application we can create our own business rules according to the requirement of the business. And if we talk about the predefined applications, so that is the EPBC, there are various kind of modules we have. That is a financial module, workforce module, capital expenditure planning, that is CapEx, and then strategic and project. So there we can create our although there are having the predefined rules, but we can create our own rules as well, just for the client based planning, for the driver based planning, as well as the direct data input. But here if we talk about in the custom financial application, so here we need to define various kind of component templates and other rules. We can use them for creating the business rules. And let me show you in the application. Okay, there is an error is occurring while I creating this application. So let me create this once again. Till then the application is getting created. Let's discuss something more about this. It will take few seconds to create. Okay. So we were on the rule sets, objects containing two or more business rules that can be calculated simultaneously or sequentially. So that will be called as the rule sets. When the objects containing components, templates and other rules, that will be called as the rules, while the objects containing two or more business rules simultaneously, so that can be calculated simultaneously or sequentially, so that will be called as the rule sets. There are different rules we have. Then we have components, so objects containing formulas, scripts, conditions, members and data ranges, fixed loops and design time prompts. Components are not deployable, so that will be known as the components. And then templates, objects that you can use in business rules to perform calculations or a set of calculation. So these are the templates. Now if we talk about what kind of services that can use the calculation manager, so several enterprise performance management cloud services we have to use the Oracle Hyperion calculation manager, that is the planning modules, EPBC, enterprise profitability and cost management, that is PCM, and after that we have financial consolidation and close, that is FCCS. Now let me check. Okay, again we are having the error for creating the demo application. Let me use some other instance. I need to check why it is not creating the demo application. Let's try once again for creating a sample application. Alright, so till then the demo application is getting created. Let's discuss something more about the calculation manager. So use Oracle, we have already read this, like why we use, what kind of rule sets we have, like rules, rule set, components and templates. So these are the objects, following types of objects we have in our calculations. We use generally this kind of template. We have seen under the cube, we have seen rules, rule sets, scripts, formulas. So these are covered under the calculation manager. Now let's discuss something about viewing objects in calculation manager, how we can view the objects. So we can view, basically view allows us to see calculation manager's objects in different contexts. Number one is the system view. So default view displayed when you launch calculation manager, it lists all the applications and objects to which you have access. We have custom view, like here you can see we have the system view, and under that we have the custom view, deployment view and filter view. So if we talk about the custom view, we can create folders and we can add objects to the folders to create a view that is meaningful to you. Then we have the deployment view. So list by application type and application the rules and rule sets that are deployable and their deployment and validation status. So you can select what rules and rule sets to make deployable and then deploy the objects to applications. Now we have filter view, filter the objects that are displayed. So these views we have. Then after that we need to discuss about designing business rules. So Oracle Hyperion Calculation Manager enables us to create, validate, deploy and administer sophisticated multidimensional business rules. You typically create business rules to, why we create, to allocate cost among the entities, right? Then model revenues. Basically many a times we need to model revenues to different projects. Like suppose I am having different projects, housing projects, building projects, multinational projects. So I need to allocate revenues. So I need to define a model for the revenues as well as for expenses. Then prepare a balance sheet. We can create the rule, business rule for the balance sheet. Then calculate cash flow, calculate currency translation adjustments, calculate group and minority interest. Then we can use calculate deferred taxes. So basically we design business rules for these things, and we can use for something else also if it demands by the application. Then fixed statement by the users, sorry, my mistake. Basically it always designed according to the user requirement, right? Now we need to discuss the fixed statements, why we use the fixed statements in the business rules. So fixed statements are used to focus the business rule. Here we need to keep the number of blocks being calculated as low as possible to ensure that you only calculate the required blocks. Whenever we create business rules, definitely it will impact on the blocks. So our main motive should be the block size or the number of blocks should not be only, because if we create the multiple blocks, it will definitely hamper our application and it will impact on the processing of the working. So basically it is recommended by the Oracle that fixed statements are used to focus only the business rule. So keep the number of blocks being calculated as low as possible to ensure that you calculate only the required blocks. Then we have a fixed statement is recommended for sparse dimensions because it reduces the number of blocks that are required for the calculation. So what fixed statement? Fixed statement is recommended for sparse dimension. We have the dense dimension for the calculation purpose, and then we have the sparse dimension in the application. So why it is recommended for sparse dimension? Because it reduces the number of blocks that are required for the calculation. We have one topic for the block creation of block. At that time we will discuss something more about the dense and sparse dimension. Today we will just gonna simply discuss about the business rules basics. So ensure that calculations are done on level 0 of all dimensions if the application design has a bottom-up version setup, right? Where possible, use out-of-X statements on sparse dimensions and inner if statements on dense dimensions. All fixed statements should include members from all dimensions other than those within the calculation. So if a dimension is excluded, all members from that dimension are included. This may be unnecessary, right? Let me check that. Oh no, again I'm having that error for creating the demo application. Maybe I need to recreate the service for this. Okay, let me check the other instance. We need to wait for a few seconds more. Okay, here the same things are written about the fixed statements, and we will see about like how we can use the fixed statements in the business rules, why we use this. After that we have okay, all fixed statements should include members from all dimensions. We have already read this. Then next, fixed statements where possible to reduce the number of database passes. Each full fixed statements require a pass on the database. For example, you may use an outer fix for version, scenario, and any other dimension selection that is static throughout the business rule. For business rules associated with web forms, leverage the selected page and point of view members, that is POV members, in fixed statements to reduce the number of blocks calculated. If is we will discuss later on why when we use the if statements under the application, and then we will discuss about how to create the business rule. We will just start with the very basics today. Like how we can calculate the sales tax, how we can calculate the income tax or any other kind of taxes or revenues in the application with the help of the calculation manager. All right. So basically our agenda of meeting today will be like this. The calculation manager basics that we have already discussed, then basics of business rules like sales tax or any other kind of tax, how we can use the substitution variable, conditional if and fix, and attribute function. So let me recheck that am I able to create the application. So I have created one story to make you understand how we can use the business rules, right? Let me show you this story. Basically here, this is the smart view version. I have connected this with the smart view. The story is like this. Suppose I am having the revenue from hardware. Basically if we talk about the vision application, so there are various kind of revenues we have, right? So just for the sake of learning, we will discussing this for one revenue, that is for the hardware, and here I need to calculate the tax. Suppose this sales tax 7940 member is right now not available in the application, so I'll creating this separately, and then I'll show you what should be the data storage property and other properties which we need to take in mind before creating the business rule. Then we will create one simple business rule for calculation of sales tax, and it will be just like this: revenue multiplied by 10%. So here I have used a constant, but generally it is recommended to use the variables, so we will use a variable there. Then we will fix few members, like the few dimensions. Basically, why we fixing them? So that our block size, basically the calculation will be on only those members or dimensions which we are fixing here. Otherwise, if we don't fix anything, the calculation will happen for whole of the application, and it will definitely increase the block size and number of existing blocks, so that will making our application performance very slow. So that is why we are using fixed statement over here. So I have used one entity, one version, one scenario, and the financial year, and then I written my business rule, that is 7940. The sales tax is equal to hardware 4110 multiplied by 10%. So here I get the result. Now let me show you how we can create this. Alright, again we need to wait for a second. I don't know why today the demo application is running so slow, and even the main instance we are not able to use this. So maybe due to the maintenance activities. Let's wait for a few more seconds, otherwise I'll show you separately. So till the application is getting created, let's discuss something more about if statements. So if a statement can be used in member formula, fix cannot. We can use if statement in the member formula, but fix we cannot use fix there. If a statement should be used within fix statement to reduce the number of blocks that are to be accessed. Why? Because if we use a condition, so that rule will be governed run only for the particular members or for that condition. So that is why it is known as, it is called as, if a statement should be used within fix statement to reduce the number of blocks that are to be accessed. The if statements bring all the blocks within the fix into the memory. Where possible, use out of fix statements on sparse dimensions and inner if statements on dense dimensions. Use else instead of a combination of not and else if, where possible, to avoid unnecessary analysis of member values during the calculation. Do not use an else statement if it is not required, because again it will create the blocks. So review the calc member block choice to determine if you can use a sparse member without dynamic calc dependencies. Order if statements, if possible, where the most number of cases hits the first if in the block. Use not within the if to ensure this if applicable. So consider the following script, which assumes the sales year till date is a child of ratios in sample basic, where account and time are dense, right? We will just see it practically later on. Like here you can see, I use the set update calc of command to create the block, and sales YTD is a member on which I need to calculate the business rule. That is why the upper one is I have written here for creating of block, and then after if at the rate is member January, because I am writing a condition over here that this will be calculated only for the January. I am not fixing anything over here. So my sales year to date is equals to sales only. Whatever the sales for year to date should be equal to the sales, else sales YTD is equal to sales plus prior. Here I am using the another function at the rate prior for the previous sales. So sales plus at the rate prior sales YTD. Okay, so this is a kind of condition why I'm using the if or else. So this is just for the sake of learning, I have written over here. So in this example, you can see while 11 by 12 of the data meets the else condition, only 1 by 12 of the data meets the if condition, right? Additionally, sales, because here I have written only sales YTD is equals to sales, but my most of the formula will show, you can see over here after the else. That's why it is written over here that 11 by 12 of the data meets the else condition, only 1 by 12 of the data meets the if condition. So additionally, the sales YTD member is calculated in cell mode, which means that January, because it appears first in the outline, if is calculated first regardless of the if order. You can optimize this script by using not in the if statement as shown in the following example. We will discuss it practically, but again let me see that is my demo application is created or not. Okay, so congrats, we have created the application successfully. Now let's start working on this. So now we have the vision application. First we're gonna check that are we having the dimensions which is required or not. So I will work on the cube plan 1. Here we have the account, entity, HSP view, period, product, scenario, version and year. So first I need to check that is I'm having this particular member or not, or we can create some other members simultaneously. So let me check 7940. It is a sales tax. Basically I have separately created this earlier, that's why I'm checking it first. Alright, you can see my search is complete and no results were found, so I need to create one. I can create it under the drivers and I can create it separately here in the net income, because this is my sales tax and it is a kind of expense, you can assume. So we have already some federal income tax, state income tax. So after that I'll just create one sibling, 7940. Sales checks, and we need to make it store, because if we take the data storage property as dynamic calc, so it will throw an error like we can, the business rule is not allowed to calculate the virtual members, because the dynamic calc will roll up all the children of the particular member, but we need a particular member calculation over here, so we cannot make it a dynamic calc. We just need to make it a store only, right? Then let's save this. Alright, let's check it for hardware revenue, that is 4110. You can see we already have the hardware. So now what we can do over here, hardware revenue multiply by 0.10%, that is 10%, so we can get the sales checks, right? Alright, so let me refresh the database once. Okay, so my refresh is completed. Now let's move to the rules. You can find the rules under the navigator by default, and under the create and manage you can find the rules. Here under the vision application, in the plan 1 we have different rules. Let's write one business rule, new, and I will give it name as a sales tax calculation, sales tax calc. We need to specify the cube, what kind of cube we are going to use. One way you can go with the designer view, and the other way you can go with the added script. What is the difference between the design and added script? I will discuss later on. I'll come to this, but just for the sake of short learning, let me tell you something. If you go with the member formula, then you can use the designer view directly. You just need to drag your member formula over here in between the begin and the end, right? And if you want to fix anything, you can use this particular option. But today I'm gonna show you the added script, how you can use the added script. Now here the base data is already fixed, so what I'll do, I will separately fix few members like this. I have separately written my business rule here. Let me show you. This is 7940 is equals to 4110 multiplied by 0.10. Let me copy this and I will show you where we need to change things. Alright, here I have used the constant earlier. Now let's create a variable. Here we can take the global application cube and rule, and from here we can create sales tax. It is a type having the percent because I need to use 10%, and here we need to define the default value 10, 5 or anything. Let's take 10. If I use the runtime prompt, so I need to write here the text, or we can escape this for now because later on I'll show you about the runtime prompts. So 10% I have fixed over here. When I can use the runtime prompts, if I need to use the multiple percent values, if I do not want to take only 10 and every time I save the rule, I run the rule, it will ask me that do I need to use the same percentage or I can change it. So this will be more better if we take the runtime prompt enable, because there we can define the range, we can define a limit particularly, maybe from 5 to 10, 5 to 100 or anything, right? Okay, so now I will just validate this. Here you can see this rule is validated with no errors and was saved. Here you can see I have fixed the entity. The 110 is the financial facilities resources, then plan is the scenario, working is the version, and financial year 24 is the year. Here I can take directly the full name of this particular entity so that you cannot confuse with this. So let me revalidate this. Alright, there this time throwing is through that error. Alright, let me make it 110 only. Alright, here the indentation is very important. We should not make it wrong. It should be correct. Where we need to use the semicolon, where we need to use the parenthesis, it should be take wisely. Then after the validation and save, either you can directly click here for the sake of validation, or you can click here so that the rule gets validated and saved simultaneously. Then after that we need to validate this and deploy. So the deployment was successful, and the last thing that is we need to launch this. I will show you like what is the impact of this business rule, and here before running this business rule I will show you the database properties. What is the current size of this block, or we'll make it 0 first, the number of existing blocks, and then we will run this rule. So right now we have the number of existing block as 6476, right? 6476. For the sake of learning, let me take the snapshot of this. This is before running the business rule, and then I will just clear this block, clear all data within the application. Once I clear data, see the database clear. You will see when I refresh it, the number of existing blocks becomes 0, right? Let me again take the snapshot of this. After clear the data, after clear the all data from the application, we will see what kind of number of blocks, existing number of blocks we have. Okay. Alright, now my rule is successfully created or validated. Let's run this rule. Before that, I just need to check that I'm having a user here or not, because I need to use the smart view. Alright, for the sake of learning, I am taking all the available groups to the user. Now just move to the Excel sheet. Here separately I will run this. Planning provider error. Okay, I need to change the settings first. This is enabled for the all users, so right now I'll make it for particular user which we want to run. Right here I will quickly select all the required dimension. We have taken scenario as a plan, working as a version, and then any product. Let's check the business rule. Okay, we have not fix any product, so we can take any one of them. Let's take it here, product 110. Alright, we have not fixed any period also. Then entity we have fixed, that is 110. Here we need to take 7940 or 4110. 7940 and 4110. Now let's refresh this. Right now you can see we have no data. Alright, now I will just enter one value over here. Let's take 20,000. This is my hardware. Okay, submit data, and let me change the alias so that you can see the full name of this business rule. So by default I have changed this, so you can see 7940 is the sales tax, and then 4110 is the hardware. So now I just want to see that I'm getting the sales tax over my hardware or not, right? So how we can check that? We need to run the business rule from here. I will just take only plan 1, and what is the name? Yeah, sales tax calculation is the name of my business rule. Now let's refresh and you will see the value over here. Alright, so see 20,000, very basic rule I have created, 20,000, and if I need to calculate 10% over here, so it should 2000. It is correct. So this is the data validation. Basically we can create a separate file for this also, just to show you that are we getting the result correctly or not. We can create a file like this, one for the input the data for the desired output, the second one is for the planning output, what we get from the after running the business rule, and the third one is for the validation sheet, basically where we can see the variance of the planning sheet and the desired output, right? So right now here you can see it is a simple formula, that's why I'm not creating any separate file. You can see we get the result over here. Now what we can do over here, save this, and we will check the database properties again. Okay, right now the number of blocks is existing block is 0 because we have put some value over here, run the business rule, definitely we get the blocks 1. Okay, from where 1 is coming? Because we have only one sales and one sales over here and one sales checks. Okay, so 1 multiplied 1 is equal to 1. Let me show you how the number of blocks is getting calculated. First, let me take the snapshot of this. Alright, after run the business rule, we get this. Alright, clearly you can see, suppose how my block can be created. Here you can see I have product A and the product B. Okay, we have two products. Suppose I need to check the sales for the January and February month for the product A as well as for the product B. Okay, here you can see my January and February total is 60 and my January and February for product B is 90. Okay, I have inculcated the formula, but the number of blocks will not depend on the calculation. It will depend on what kind of member is getting calculated, right? Here you can see sales, we have one sale and one product. Okay, 1 multiplied 1 is equals to 1. So 1 into 1 product is equals to 1 block. Similarly here also we have one sale multiplied by one product. So we have total number of block is 2 because 1 plus 1 is 2. If we have 2 product and 1 sale, we can write like this. Sale is 1 because the sale is from the account dimension and product is from the product dimension, right? So here we have the product A and here we have the product B. Alright, so if I'm having one product and the other two products and one sale, so it will be 2 products multiply 1 sale, so it will be 2 blocks will be created. Alright, this is a simple mathematic which we need to understand how it will impact on the number of blocks. Okay, as you can see over here, initially we have 6476, then we cleared the data, we get the number of existing block is 0, then we run the business rule and we only enter the one sale, one sales checks and one hardware. So you can, in one product we have only here Sentinel standard notebook. So that is why we have 1 multiplied by 1, that is 1. So after running the business rule, we have the number of existing block is 1. So this is the beauty of business rules, how we can see, how we can check that what kind of blocks, number of existing blocks are creating while we run the business rule, and simultaneously we can optimize the business rule as well. Now let's move to the another topic. So this is a simple business rule basically, because in the agenda we have this calculation manager basics, basic business rule, that is sales checks. Now we can see some additional attribute functions and conditional if and fix where we can use that. Alright, so is member. Alright, so when we can use the is member calculation function for S-based test whether a member is a match for any of the specified members. This function returns true if the current member being calculated matches any one of the specified members within a range or list, within a list or range, right? So basically when we need to add any condition, so we use this. If we want to add any condition for any specified member, we can use is member. Like here I have used is member for the product, particular product like this. Here I fix P100 or P101 so that my business rule will only work for that particular product and nothing else, right? So is member, we need to specify the member name, the range list, like from January to March I need to run this business rule only. I do not want to run this business rule for whole of the periods. And then member list, so we can define in this way. So these are the parameters which we need to take in mind. Then member name, any valid single member name or member combination, or a function that returns a single member or member combination. Then we have range list, a valid member name, a comma delimited list of member names, member set functions, and range functions. Just give me 2 seconds, I'll continue. Okay, so we have the range list, a valid member name, a comma delimited list of member names, member set functions, and range functions. Like here I have fixed 110 entity plan scenario working version financial year 24/79/40. Also one more thing you can see over here in the sheet. In this sheet we have specifically designed this rule for the hardware. If we take any other member from here, like under the net income, if we take any other revenue, let's take support. So are we getting the result or not? If I'll write here the 10,000 submit data, so my rule, if I want to run this particular sales checks for whole of the revenue, so I need to change my rule and I need to make it for whole of the revenue. All right, like we can run it separately. Right now what it is doing, it is only calculating it for the hardware. What I want it to be calculated for 20,000 plus 10,000 multiplied by 10%. So I need the figure over here. Let me write here once again. 20,000 plus 10,000, it is 30,000, and it should be multiplied by 10%. So 3,000 I want over here. How I can get the 3,000, like the calculation for whole of the revenues or 2 of the revenues, we need to take this again 4120. So I can either add it separately, or I can take the children of 4001, that is the total revenue. So if I take here 4120, so this is for support, and again I will take the same variable sales checks. All right, and then I will run this business rule. The rule is validated with no errors and rule is saved also. Then I deploy this, then I launch this. All right, okay, this time you can see I will get 3,000 over here. Okay, now let me refresh this. Okay, this time it is only calculating for 10,000. Let me rerun the rule. Uh, 7940, it is only calculating on support. Okay, I think we need to add this, or let me calculate. Well, let me run the business rules once again. Okay, so this time it is calculating for the support only 10,000 multiplied by 10%. So 1,000 is here. But if I want to take it for whole of the revenue. So what I can do, I can fix the revenue as well, or I can add here this particular revenue, that is 4120. So it will add both of the revenues and then calculate the sales check this time. Okay, let's try to run this. Let's check if it works. Alright, validate it, deploy and launch. Now again refresh this. See, this time what it is doing, it is adding both of the revenues, because we have used the plus consolidation operator here, right? We have used addition, so it is adding both of the revenues, but it is not multiplying this, because the rule is not taking this into the memory that we need to calculate here the sales checks, right? That is why it is very important to write the rule wisely. Now suppose I just want to run this rule for whole of the revenues. So what I can do, I can take the R descendants of 4001. This is the total revenue we have. But the problem is it is having the dynamic calc as the data storage property, but still we will try to run this because it is validated successfully without any errors. But I think maybe it is getting launched or not, so let's check it. Alright, you can see it is throwing that error executing formula, because I have used the I descendants for this and scalar double argument expected in function. So that is why it is recommended to only use it for the zero level descendants or the store property members only. Okay, or if I will make this particular 4001 as store, then again it will not roll up my all of the revenues simultaneously, but let's try to do that once. See, this is dynamic calc. Now let's make it store and refresh the database. But as I have changed the data storage property, so this time it will not, maybe it will not take whole of the children. So again our motive will not be successful. So let's try to rerun this. Simply it is validated. So that means every time I need to calculate the sales tax, I need to write separately the specify the member name, right? Okay, so again I will make this. What else I can do over here? I can take this separately, right? And here I have fixed basically that, and here I will write again 4110, and I will change the property once again. Because I need to take roll up for all the zero level descendants to the parent level member. Alright, and let me change it from the never share to the store and save this. Again refresh, and this time we will validate and see once again. See, cannot calculate dimension member 7940 with restricted member rule 4110. Why? Because here we are using the 2 times the account dimension, one in the fixed statement and the another one is for the calculation. So this is quite confusing for the business rule to run. That is why it is recommended either you can fix that particular member or separately you need to write here in the calculation line. Okay, so again I will make the business rule as it is and we will move it. Let's move ahead. Later on we will see if I need to calculate for whole of the revenue, so how we can do that. We can even separately create a member formula under that particular 4001 member. This is a total revenue, and then we can separately run that. Alright, so now okay, I just want to explain this is member rule also, but as we have some other sessions, so we will continue this tomorrow, like when we use the is member and when we use the attribute function. So we will see it in the next session. Till then you guys can practice for the same, and if you have any kind of doubt in this session, from this session, I'll be here to help you. Thank you so much for attending, and if you have any queries you can feel free to write over here in the www.bispsolutions.com. So thank you so much for attending this. Here I am ending the session. Bye bye.